The ocean is Earth's primary reservoir of heat, and this is not a metaphor or a poetic framing. It is a measurable physical reality grounded in the basic properties of seawater. More than 90% of the excess heat accumulated by the planet over the past century has entered the ocean. This figure is derived from multiple independent observational systems, including ship-based temperature profiles, autonomous floats, and satellite measurements that infer heat content from sea level rise. The atmosphere, despite being the most immediate medium through which humans experience climate, holds only a small fraction of this energy by comparison. The reason lies in heat capacity. Water requires far more energy to raise its temperature by a single degree than air or land. 1 cubic meter of seawater can store over 4,000 times as much heat as the same volume of air at sea level. This property allows the ocean to absorb, transport, and slowly release vast quantities of thermal energy without dramatic short-term temperature swings. From the perspective of Earth system science, the ocean functions as a planetary heat buffer, moderating climate variability over timescales ranging from seasons to millennia. This role has been confirmed through direct observation. Since the early 2000s, the Global Argo Float Network has provided temperature profiles from the surface down to depths of 2,000 meters. These instruments reveal a steady accumulation of heat throughout the upper and intermediate layers of the ocean. The warming is not uniform. The Southern Ocean absorbs a disproportionately large share, particularly at depths between 500 and 2,000 meters, where cold surface waters sink and carry heat into the interior. This process has been directly measured and is consistent across multiple observational datasets. Below these depths, measurements become sparser, but available data suggest that even the deep ocean, once thought to be thermally isolated on human timescales, is slowly warming. This is a confirmed observation in some abyssal regions, although the global magnitude remains an open scientific question due to limited coverage. What is not in doubt is the direction of change. The ocean as a whole is gaining heat, and it has been doing so continuously for decades. The consequences of this heat uptake extend far beyond temperature statistics. As seawater warms, it expands. Thermal expansion is currently responsible for roughly 1/3 of observed global mean sea level rise, with the remainder coming primarily from melting glaciers and ice sheets. This contribution is directly measured and well constrained. Unlike ice melt, which can accelerate or decelerate depending on atmospheric conditions, thermal expansion continues as long as the ocean gains heat, and it persists even if surface temperatures stabilize. Heat stored in the ocean also alters circulation. Large-scale currents are driven by gradients in temperature and salinity, which together determine seawater density. When warming changes these gradients, circulation patterns respond. Observations indicate that some surface currents have intensified over recent decades, while others have shifted position. The precise attribution of these changes to anthropogenic warming versus natural variability is an area of active research, but the physical mechanism linking heat content to circulation is well established. One of the most important circulation systems affected by ocean heat is the overturning circulation, a global scale pattern in which surface waters sink at high latitudes and deep waters rise elsewhere. This circulation transports heat, carbon, and nutrients around the planet. Models and indirect observations suggest that warming and freshwater input from melting ice may weaken parts of this system over time. This is a well-supported theory grounded in fluid dynamics, but the rate, extent, and regional expression of such changes remain open questions. Direct long-term observations of deep circulation are limited, and distinguishing long-term trends from natural fluctuations is challenging. The ocean's heat capacity also shapes weather. Tropical cyclones draw energy from warm surface waters. When the upper ocean is warmer and the heat extends deeper below the surface, storms can maintain or increase their intensity even after mixing the surface layer. This relationship is supported by both theory and observation. However, the link between ocean warming and changes in cyclone frequency is less clear and remains an open question, with different regions exhibiting different trends. Beyond storms, heat stored in the ocean influences atmospheric circulation patterns that determine rainfall, drought, and seasonal climate. Phenomena such as El Niño and La Niña arise from interactions between ocean heat content and winds in the tropical Pacific. These events redistribute heat between ocean and atmosphere on interannual timescales, affecting weather worldwide. The basic mechanism is a confirmed observation, documented over more than a century of measurements. How climate change may alter the frequency or intensity of these events is an area of ongoing study, with models offering differing projections. The buffering role of the ocean has a dual character. On one hand, by absorbing heat, the ocean has slowed the rate of atmospheric warming that would otherwise have occurred. Without this heat uptake, surface temperatures would already be significantly higher. This is a robust conclusion supported by energy balance calculations and climate modeling. On the other hand, the stored heat represents a long-term commitment. Even if greenhouse gas emissions were halted immediately, much of the heat already in the ocean would continue to influence climate for centuries. This inertia arises from the slow exchange of heat between the ocean's interior and the atmosphere. Surface waters interact with the air on timescales of days to months, but deeper layers exchange heat on timescales of decades to thousands of years. This stratification is a confirmed feature of the ocean, observed through temperature and density profiles. It means that the ocean does not quickly forget past conditions. Instead, it integrates them over long periods, acting as a memory of the climate system. Marine ecosystems are also affected by ocean heat content. Many organisms are adapted to narrow temperature ranges. As waters warm, species distributions shift, often moving poleward or to greater depths. These shifts are widely observed in plankton, fish, and invertebrates. The underlying cause is well understood, but the ecological consequences are complex and not fully predictable. Changes in timing, such as earlier plankton blooms, can disrupt food webs in ways that are still being studied. At a chemical level, warmer water holds less dissolved gas. As the ocean warms, its capacity to absorb oxygen decreases, contributing to the expansion of low oxygen zones in some regions. This process is confirmed by observations of declining oxygen concentrations in parts of the open ocean. The interaction between warming, circulation changes, and biological oxygen consumption is an active area of research, particularly with respect to how widespread and severe future deoxygenation may become. Geologically, the ocean's heat interacts with the solid earth at mid-ocean ridges and hydrothermal systems. While the contribution of anthropogenic warming to these deep processes is negligible on short timescales, the fundamental exchange of heat between ocean and crust is a reminder that the ocean is embedded within the broader Earth system. Over geological time, variations in ocean heat content have been linked to shifts in climate states, from ice ages to warm periods. These links are supported by proxy records, though the precise mechanisms often remain subjects of scientific debate. What makes the ocean's role in heat storage remarkable is not only its scale, but its subtlety. The average temperature increase of the global ocean over the past half-century is small when expressed in degrees, yet the total energy involved is immense. This disparity between perceptible change and physical consequence is one of the defining features of ocean science. It explains why the ocean can appear stable while undergoing profound transformation. The fact that the ocean has absorbed most of the excess heat in the climate system is a confirmed observation. The mechanisms by which it does so are grounded in well-tested physical principles. The long-term implications, however, unfold over timescales that exceed individual lifespans and even centuries. How this stored heat will continue to reshape circulation, sea level, ecosystems, and climate variability remains one of the central questions of modern oceanography. Beneath the ocean surface lies a vertical structure that governs nearly every physical, chemical, and biological process in the sea. This structure is known as stratification, the layering of seawater according to density. Density is determined primarily by temperature and salinity, and even small differences are enough to prevent large volumes of water from mixing. This invisible architecture gives the ocean its stability, its memory, and many of its limits. At the surface, sunlight warms the upper ocean, creating a relatively light layer of water. Below it, colder and often saltier water forms denser layers that resist upward movement. The boundary between these layers is called the thermocline when temperature dominates the density difference, and the pycnocline when density differences from all causes are considered together. These features are not theoretical constructs. They are directly observed through millions of temperature and salinity profiles collected across the global ocean. Stratification is strongest in the tropics, where intense solar heating creates a sharp contrast between warm surface waters and cold, deep waters. In polar regions, stratification is weaker or seasonally absent, allowing surface waters to sink more readily. This geographic pattern has been confirmed by long-term observations and underpins global ocean circulation. Where stratification is weak, the ocean can exchange properties between surface and depth. Where it is strong, the ocean becomes layered and isolated. This layering has profound consequences for life. Nearly all marine photosynthesis occurs in the sunlit surface layer, known as the euphotic zone. Below this zone, light diminishes rapidly and photosynthesis becomes impossible. Nutrients essential for life, such as nitrate and phosphate, are often more abundant in deeper waters where organic matter decomposes. Stratification limits the upward transport of these nutrients, effectively placing a ceiling on biological productivity at the surface. This relationship between stratification and productivity is a confirmed observation. Regions where deep waters are brought to the surface through upwelling, such as along certain coastlines and at the equator, are among the most biologically productive areas in the ocean. Where stratification is strong and mixing is weak, surface waters can become nutrient-poor despite abundant sunlight. The contrast between these regions is one of the most striking large-scale patterns in marine biology. Stratification also governs the distribution of oxygen. Oxygen enters the ocean primarily at the surface, either through direct exchange with the atmosphere or through photosynthesis. In a strongly stratified ocean, oxygen-rich surface waters are prevented from mixing downward. At depth, oxygen is gradually consumed by respiration and decomposition. This imbalance leads to the formation of oxygen minimum zones, layers of water where oxygen concentrations are extremely low. The existence of these zones is a confirmed observation, documented in every major ocean basin. Their depth and intensity vary regionally, shaped by circulation patterns and biological activity. In recent decades, observations indicate that some oxygen minimum zones are expanding. The contribution of increased stratification due to surface warming is well supported by theory and consistent with observations, though the relative roles of circulation, changes, and biological processes remain areas of active research. Stratification influences not only vertical exchange, but also horizontal motion. Ocean currents often flow along density surfaces rather than across them. This means that water masses can travel thousands of kilometers while maintaining their temperature and salinity characteristics. These pathways have been mapped using chemical tracers and autonomous floats, revealing a three-dimensional circulation system structured by density layers rather than simple depth. The stability provided by stratification allows the ocean to store chemical signatures over long periods. Dissolved carbon dioxide, nutrients, and even pollutants can be sequestered below the surface for decades or longer. This storage is a confirmed phenomenon and is central to the ocean's role in the global carbon cycle. Surface waters absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Some of this carbon is transported downward through physical mixing or biological processes, entering layers that exchange with the atmosphere only slowly. This process, often referred to as the solubility pump and the biological pump, is grounded in observation and theory. Stratification regulates both. Strong stratification can limit the downward transport of carbon by suppressing mixing, while weak stratification can enhance it. How future changes in stratification will alter carbon uptake is an open scientific question, with models suggesting regionally diverse outcomes. Seasonal changes provide a clear illustration of stratification's dynamics. In many mid-latitude regions, surface waters cool in winter, become denser, and mix downward, erasing stratification temporarily. In summer, solar heating re-establishes a warm surface layer and stratification returns. This seasonal cycle has been measured for decades and is a foundational observation in physical oceanography. It drives seasonal plankton blooms, redistributes nutrients, and resets surface chemical conditions each year. Longer-term changes in stratification are now being observed. As the surface ocean warms due to increased heat uptake, density differences between surface and depth increase. This intensification of stratification has been measured in many regions. The trend is not uniform, and some areas show more pronounced changes than others, but the global signal is robust. The physical basis for this change is straightforward. Warmer water is lighter, and increased surface heating strengthens the density contrast. The ecological implications of increasing stratification are complex. Reduced nutrient supply to the surface can lower productivity in some regions, while changes in mixing can favor smaller plankton species over larger ones. These shifts have been observed in certain ecosystems, but attributing them solely to stratification changes is difficult. Biological systems respond to multiple interacting factors, including temperature, light, grazing, and chemistry. Stratification also affects sound transmission in the ocean. Variations in temperature and density bend sound waves, creating channels where sound can travel long distances with little loss. This phenomenon is a confirmed physical effect and has been used for decades in submarine navigation and scientific monitoring. Marine mammals also exploit these sound channels for communication across vast distances. An example of how physical ocean structure shapes biological behavior. From a geological perspective, stratification influences how the ocean interacts with sediments. In strongly stratified waters, limited mixing can lead to the accumulation of organic-rich sediments under low oxygen conditions. Over geological timescales, such environments have contributed to the formation of certain fossil fuel deposits. This connection is supported by sedimentary records, though the specific pathways involve complex interactions between biology, chemistry, and physics. Despite its importance, stratification is not directly visible. It must be inferred from measurements, profiles, and models. This invisibility contributes to a common misconception of the ocean as a well-mixed body of water. In reality, it is a delicately layered system with boundaries that can persist for years or centuries. These boundaries regulate what moves, what mixes, and what remains isolated. Understanding stratification is essential for interpreting nearly every aspect of ocean behavior. It determines how heat is stored, how nutrients are supplied, how gases are exchanged, and how life is distributed. The basic principles are firmly established and supported by extensive observation. What remains uncertain is how rapidly and unevenly stratification will change in response to ongoing climate forcing, and how marine systems will adapt to those changes. The ocean is not chemically uniform. Beneath its apparent sameness lies a complex and dynamic chemical system that quietly regulates the composition of the atmosphere and the pace of climate change. One of the least appreciated facts about the ocean is that it acts as Earth's largest active reservoir of carbon, containing more than 50 times as much carbon as the atmosphere. This is not stored in a single form, but distributed across a spectrum of dissolved chemical species that interact with physics, biology, and geology. Carbon enters the ocean primarily as carbon dioxide gas exchanged with the atmosphere. This exchange is a confirmed observation, directly measured using shipboard instruments and autonomous sensors. When carbon dioxide dissolves in seawater, it reacts with water molecules to form carbonic acid, which then dissociates into bicarbonate and carbonate ions. The majority of dissolved inorganic carbon in the ocean exists in these ionic forms rather than as dissolved gas. This chemical buffering system is well understood and described by equilibrium chemistry that has been tested in laboratories and validated in the field. This buffering allows the ocean to absorb large amounts of carbon dioxide without dramatic changes in pH, at least initially. It is the reason the ocean has taken up roughly a quarter to a third of all carbon dioxide released by human activities since the beginning of the industrial era. This fraction is a confirmed estimate derived from atmospheric measurements, ocean surveys, and carbon cycle models. Without this uptake, atmospheric carbon dioxide concentrations would be significantly higher than they are today. However, the buffering is not infinite. As more carbon dioxide enters the ocean, the balance among dissolved carbon species shifts. The concentration of hydrogen ions increases, leading to a measurable decrease in pH. This process, known as ocean acidification, is a confirmed observation. Long-term monitoring stations and repeated global surveys show a clear downward trend in surface ocean pH since the mid-20th century. The magnitude of this change is modest in absolute terms, but significant in chemical and biological contexts. The chemistry underlying this change is not controversial. What remains an area of active research is how different marine organisms respond. Many organisms, including corals, mollusks, and some plankton, build shells or skeletons from calcium carbonate. The availability of carbonate ions affects how easily these structures can form. Laboratory experiments and field observations show that reduced carbonate availability can slow calcification in some species. This is a well-supported conclusion, though responses vary widely among taxa. Not all marine life is negatively affected. Some photosynthetic organisms may benefit from higher carbon dioxide concentrations, and others show little sensitivity to changes in pH within observed ranges. The net ecosystem level effects of ocean acidification remain an open scientific question, particularly when combined with other stressors such as warming, deoxygenation, and nutrient changes. What is clear is that the chemical environment of the ocean is changing in ways that have not occurred at this rate in millions of years, based on geological proxy records. Beyond carbon, the ocean's chemistry governs the cycling of nutrients essential for life. Elements such as nitrogen, phosphorus, iron, and silica are present in trace amounts, yet they control biological productivity over vast regions. Their distributions are shaped by a combination of biological uptake, regeneration, physical transport, and chemical transformation. These processes are directly observed through water sampling and tracer studies, forming a central pillar of marine biogeochemistry. Iron provides a striking example. In much of the open ocean, macronutrients like nitrate are abundant, yet productivity remains low. This paradox puzzled scientists for decades until experiments demonstrated that iron limitation was the controlling factor. This conclusion is supported by both natural observations and deliberate iron addition experiments, which triggered large phytoplankton blooms. The existence of iron limitation is a confirmed observation, though the long-term implications of artificially altering it remain uncertain and ethically debated. The ocean also acts as a sink for human-produced chemicals beyond carbon dioxide. Many pollutants, including certain metals and synthetic compounds, enter the ocean through rivers, atmospheric deposition, or direct discharge. Some are rapidly diluted or transformed, while others accumulate in sediments or biological tissues. The pathways and impacts of these substances vary widely and are often difficult to trace, but their presence is well documented through chemical analyses. At depth, ocean chemistry reflects the slow rain of organic matter from the surface. As plankton die or are consumed, fragments sink and decompose, releasing nutrients and carbon dioxide back into the water. This process increases nutrient concentrations and dissolved carbon at depth, creating vertical gradients that are observed in every major ocean basin. The consistency of these gradients across regions is one of the strongest pieces of evidence for the global-scale operation of the biological pump. These chemical patterns allow scientists to estimate the age of water masses. By measuring concentrations of certain substances, including radiocarbon and transient tracers introduced during the 20th century, researchers can determine how long it has been since a parcel of water was last at the surface. These methods are well established and have revealed that some deep waters have been isolated from the atmosphere for hundreds to thousands of years. This isolation is a confirmed observation and underscores the long memory of the ocean's interior. The interaction between chemistry and circulation means that changes at the surface can take centuries to propagate through the deep ocean. This lag complicates predictions of future change. For example, even if atmospheric carbon dioxide concentrations were stabilized, the ocean would continue to absorb carbon until chemical equilibrium is approached. This commitment is a direct consequence of the ocean's buffering capacity and slow mixing, both of which are firmly grounded in observation. Chemical reactions in the ocean also influence its interaction with the solid earth. At the seafloor, seawater circulates through cracks in the oceanic crust, reacting with rocks and altering both the water and the minerals. This hydrothermal circulation removes some elements from seawater and adds others, contributing to the long-term stability of ocean composition. The existence of these systems is a confirmed observation, revealed through direct sampling and thermal measurements, though their global chemical impact is still being quantified. Over geological timescales, the chemistry of the ocean has changed repeatedly, reflecting shifts in volcanic activity, weathering rates, biological evolution, and climate. Evidence from sediment cores and fossil chemistry shows periods when the ocean was more acidic or more alkaline than today. These records provide essential context for modern changes, but they also highlight a key difference. The current rate of chemical change is unusually rapid. This assessment is based on comparisons between present-day measurements and proxy reconstructions, extending millions of years into the past. Despite its importance, ocean chemistry operates largely out of sight. Its changes are measured in micromoles and fractions of pH units, numbers that seem abstract until their cumulative effects become apparent. Yet these subtle shifts influence the capacity of the ocean to support life, regulate climate, and interact with the atmosphere. The fundamental processes are well understood and supported by decades of observation and experiment. What remains uncertain is how these processes will interact under continued human influence, and how resilient the ocean's chemical systems will prove to be in the centuries ahead. The seafloor is not a static, featureless plain. It is a dynamic geological environment, shaped by forces that rival those operating on land, yet largely hidden beneath kilometers of water. One of the most remarkable facts about the ocean is that it contains the longest continuous mountain range on Earth, a global system of mid-ocean ridges that encircles the planet for more than 60,000 kilometers. This is not an inference or a metaphor. It is a directly mapped feature of the ocean floor, revealed through sonar, satellite altimetry, and deep-sea exploration. Mid-ocean ridges mark the boundaries where tectonic plates move apart. As plates separate, molten rock rises from the mantle, cools, and solidifies to form new oceanic crust. This process, known as seafloor spreading, is a cornerstone of plate tectonic theory and is supported by multiple independent lines of evidence. These include the age progression of oceanic crust away from ridges, magnetic stripes recorded in basalt, and direct measurements of plate motion using satellite geodesy. Together, they confirm that the ocean floor is continuously renewed. The rate of this renewal is slow on human timescales, but immense over geological time. On average, new oceanic crust forms at a rate of a few centimeters per year, comparable to the growth rate of human fingernails. Yet because this process occurs along thousands of kilometers of ridge, the total volume of new crust produced is enormous. At the same time, old oceanic crust is destroyed at subduction zones, where it sinks back into the mantle. This balance maintains the overall size of the ocean basins, while constantly recycling their material. The use of the ocean floor is one of its most surprising characteristics. No part of the present oceanic crust is older than about 200 million years. In contrast, continental rocks can exceed 4 billion years in age. This age difference is a confirmed observation based on radiometric dating and the global mapping of seafloor magnetic anomalies. It reflects the fundamental difference between buoyant continental crust, which resists subduction, and denser oceanic crust, which is eventually recycled. Mid-ocean ridges are not uniform structures. They vary in shape, depth, and spreading rate. Fast-spreading ridges tend to be smoother and shallower, while slow-spreading ridges are more rugged, with deep valleys and complex fault systems. These differences are well documented through detailed bathymetric surveys. They influence not only the physical shape of the seafloor, but also the chemical and thermal exchanges between the ocean and the Earth's interior. One of the most significant of these exchanges occurs through hydrothermal circulation. Seawater penetrates cracks in the newly formed crust near ridges, is heated by underlying magma, and then rises back into the ocean, enriched with dissolved minerals. The existence of hydrothermal vents was first confirmed in the late 20th century through direct observation by deep diving submersibles. Since then, hundreds of vent fields have been documented along ridges and volcanic arcs. Hydrothermal vents profoundly alter the chemistry of both seawater and crust. They remove elements such as magnesium and sulfate from seawater and add others including iron, manganese, and various trace metals. This exchange is a confirmed process, quantified through chemical measurements of vent fluids and surrounding seawater. Over long time scales, hydrothermal circulation contributes to the relative stability of ocean chemistry by balancing inputs from rivers and the atmosphere. The biological communities associated with hydrothermal vents revealed one of the most unexpected discoveries in marine science. These ecosystems are not powered by sunlight, but by chemical energy derived from reactions between vent fluids and seawater. Microorganisms use this energy to fix carbon through chemosynthesis, forming the base of food webs that support dense assemblages of animals. This mode of life is a confirmed observation, documented through direct sampling and laboratory analysis. The discovery of chemosynthetic ecosystems fundamentally expanded understanding of the conditions under which life can exist. It demonstrated that sunlight is not the only energy source capable of sustaining complex communities. While the existence of these systems is well established, questions remain about their role in the origin of life and their contribution to global biogeochemical cycles. These remain open scientific questions, informed by ongoing exploration and experimentation. Beyond mid-ocean ridges, the seafloor hosts a wide range of geological environments. Abyssal plains cover vast areas, formed by the slow accumulation of fine sediments that blanket older crust. These plains appear flat on large scales, but detailed mapping reveals subtle features shaped by currents, landslides, and biological activity. The processes that create and modify abyssal plains are directly observed through sediment cores and seafloor imaging. Seamounts, underwater mountains formed by volcanic activity, are another prominent feature. Tens of thousands of seamounts rise from the ocean floor, many of them never reaching the surface. Their distribution is inferred from satellite measurements of sea surface height, which responds to the gravitational pull of these massive structures. Direct surveys confirmed their abundance and revealed that they are hotspots of biodiversity, altering currents and providing hard surfaces for organisms to colonize. Subduction zones, where one tectonic plate descends beneath another, represent the opposite end of the seafloor life cycle. These regions are marked by deep trenches, some exceeding 10 kilometers in depth. The formation of trenches is a confirmed observation linked to plate convergence. They are sites of intense geological activity, including earthquakes and volcanism, driven by the sinking of cold, dense oceanic crust into the mantle. The interaction between the ocean and tectonics extends beyond the creation and destruction of crust. Seawater plays a direct role in geological processes by lubricating faults and influencing the behavior of rocks under pressure. Water carried into the mantle by subducting plates lowers melting temperatures and contributes to the generation of magma that feeds volcanic arcs. These mechanisms are well supported by experimental studies and geochemical analyses, though their exact contributions vary among regions. Sediments on the seafloor archive Earth's environmental history. Layer by layer, they record changes in climate, ocean circulation, biological productivity, and volcanic activity. By extracting and analyzing sediment cores, scientists reconstruct past conditions extending millions of years into the past. This practice is a confirmed and foundational method in earth science. It has revealed cycles of ice ages, shifts in ocean chemistry, and the timing of major extinction events. One of the striking insights from these records is the coupling between tectonics and climate. The opening and closing of ocean gateways, driven by plate motions, can alter circulation patterns and climate on global scales. This relationship is supported by geological and paleoceanographic evidence, though the precise mechanisms and their relative importance are often debated. These debates reflect the complexity of Earth systems, rather than uncertainty about the fundamental processes involved. Despite extensive mapping, much of the seafloor remains unexplored in detail. High-resolution surveys cover only a fraction of the ocean floor, and direct visual observations are rarer still. This lack of coverage means that new geological features continue to be discovered. The existence of unknown features is not speculative. It is a consequence of limited sampling. What remains uncertain is their distribution, frequency, and significance. The dynamic nature of the seafloor challenges the perception of the ocean as merely a container for water and life. It is an active interface between the planet's interior and its surface environment. The creation of crust, the circulation of heat and chemicals, and the slow but relentless movement of plates all occur beneath the ocean's surface, shaping the Earth in ways that are fundamental yet largely unseen. That the longest mountain chain on the planet lies underwater, continuously forming and disappearing, is a confirmed and measurable fact. It underscores how incomplete surface impressions can be when compared to the full complexity of Earth systems. The seafloor is not a static foundation, but a living geological landscape, integral to the evolution of the ocean and the planet it covers. Life in the ocean is governed by constraints that differ fundamentally from those on land. Pressure increases by approximately 1 atmosphere for every 10 meters of depth, a simple physical relationship confirmed by direct measurement. At the deepest points of the ocean, pressures exceed 1,000 atmospheres. Temperatures near the seafloor can approach freezing, even in the tropics, and sunlight is entirely absent beyond the upper few hundred meters. Yet despite these extremes, the deep ocean supports a diverse and active biosphere. For much of scientific history, the deep sea was assumed to be largely lifeless. This assumption was not based on evidence, but on the limitations of technology and the extrapolation of surface conditions to depth. That view was overturned as deep sea sampling and observation became possible in the 20th century. The presence of abundant life at depth is now a confirmed observation, documented through trawls, cameras, submersibles, and remotely operated vehicles. One of the most remarkable facts about the ocean is that the majority of its living space exists in darkness. More than 90% of the habitable volume of the ocean lies below the reach of sunlight. This is not an estimate, but a geometric reality derived from the depth distribution of the ocean basins. As a result, most marine organisms live in environments where photosynthesis cannot occur. Their existence depends on energy sources and adaptations that differ from those of surface ecosystems. In the deep ocean, energy arrives primarily in 2 forms. The first is the slow, continuous rain of organic material from the surface, often referred to as marine snow. This material consists of dead plankton, fecal pellets, mucus, and other biological debris. Its downward flux has been directly measured using sediment traps deployed at various depths. Although the flux decreases with depth, it never entirely stops, providing a persistent, if sparse, energy source for deep sea communities. The second energy source is chemical, derived from reactions independent of sunlight. As established through observation at hydrothermal vents and cold seeps, chemosynthesis can support dense biological communities. While these environments occupy a small fraction of the seafloor, they demonstrate that life can thrive using chemical gradients alone. This fact has been confirmed through direct sampling and biochemical analysis of vent-associated organisms. Adaptation to pressure is one of the defining features of deep sea life. High pressure affects the structure of proteins, the behavior of cell membranes, and the rates of chemical reactions. Deep sea organisms possess molecular adaptations that stabilize these systems. These adaptations are confirmed through laboratory studies comparing proteins from shallow and deep-dwelling species. What remains less certain is how flexible these adaptations are, and how deep sea organisms might respond to changes in pressure or temperature over long timescales. Temperature in the deep ocean is remarkably stable. Below the thermocline, temperatures often vary by less than a degree over vast regions and long periods. This stability has been confirmed by long-term temperature records from deep moorings and repeat measurements. As a result, many deep-sea species are adapted to extremely narrow thermal ranges. This specialization raises questions about their resilience to even small changes in temperature, an area of active research. Reproduction in the deep sea presents additional challenges. Low population densities and vast distances between individuals make encounters rare. Many deep-sea species have evolved strategies to increase reproductive success under these conditions, including hermaphroditism, bioluminescent signaling, and the release of large numbers of gametes. These strategies are documented through direct observation and anatomical study, though the details of reproductive cycles remain poorly known for many species. Bioluminescence is one of the most widespread and distinctive traits of deep-sea organisms. It is estimated, based on observational surveys, that the majority of midwater species are capable of producing light. This light is generated through chemical reactions within specialized cells or through symbiotic bacteria. The functions of bioluminescence include communication, camouflage, and predation. These roles are supported by experimental and observational evidence, though the full diversity of signaling behaviors is not yet fully understood. Food webs in the deep ocean are shaped by scarcity. Energy arrives slowly and efficiency is critical. Many deep-sea organisms grow slowly, mature late, and live for decades or longer. Ages of deep-sea fishes have been confirmed through radiometric dating of hard structures such as otoliths. These life history traits make deep-sea populations particularly vulnerable to disturbance, a conclusion supported by observations of slow recovery following physical disruption. The deep ocean also hosts microbial communities of immense importance. Microorganisms dominate biomass at depth and drive key chemical transformations, including the remineralization of organic matter and the cycling of nitrogen and sulfur. Their presence and activity are confirmed through genetic sequencing, chemical rate measurements, and microscopy. Despite their abundance, the diversity and functional roles of deep-sea microbes remain incompletely characterized. Sediments beneath the deep ocean floor harbor life as well. Microbial cells have been detected meters below the seafloor in sediments millions of years old. These findings are based on direct sampling and careful contamination control. Metabolic rates in these environments are extremely low, pushing the limits of what is considered life. Whether these communities are actively growing or merely persisting is an open scientific question, with implications for understanding the minimum energy requirements for life. The deep sea is not isolated from surface processes. Changes in surface productivity, temperature, and circulation influence the quantity and quality of material reaching depth. Observational studies show that variations in surface conditions can be detected in deep-sea ecosystems, sometimes with delays of months to years. These connections are well supported, though the strength and timing of responses vary widely among regions. Human activity has begun to reach the deep ocean. Fishing, waste disposal, and resource exploration have introduced disturbances into environments once thought remote and protected. The impacts of these activities are documented in specific locations, but their broader consequences remain uncertain due to limited monitoring. What is clear is that deep-sea ecosystems recover slowly, if at all, from large-scale disruption. The existence of abundant and specialized life in the deep ocean is a confirmed and transformative discovery. It challenges assumptions about the limits of life and expands the range of environments considered habitable. At the same time, it reveals how much remains unknown. Vast areas of the deep ocean have yet to be observed directly, and many species are known from only a handful of specimens. The deep sea is not a marginal or peripheral part of the biosphere. It constitutes the largest living space on the planet, governed by physical and chemical conditions unlike any on land. Its inhabitants are shaped by pressure, darkness, and scarcity, yet they persist in forms both fragile and resilient. Understanding this hidden majority of life is essential for a complete picture of the ocean and of life on Earth. The ocean is a moving system, but its motion is not random. Beneath waves and storms lies a global circulation that redistributes heat, salt, gases, and nutrients around the planet. One of the most consequential facts about the ocean is that this circulation operates on timescales far longer than human experience, linking surface conditions today with climates centuries into the future. This circulation is not driven by a single force, but by the combined effects of wind, Earth's rotation, and differences in seawater density. At the surface, winds impart momentum to the ocean, generating currents that can span entire basins. These wind-driven currents are directly observed through satellite tracking, drifting instruments, and ship measurements. They form large-scale patterns known as gyres, which rotate clockwise in the northern hemisphere and counterclockwise in the southern hemisphere due to the Coriolis effect. The existence and structure of these gyres are confirmed observations, consistent across multiple measurement techniques. The surface currents transport heat from the tropics toward higher latitudes. Western boundary currents, such as those along the eastern coasts of continents, are particularly strong and narrow. Their strength has been measured repeatedly, and their role in regional climate is well established. Coastal regions adjacent to these currents experience milder temperatures than would otherwise be expected at similar latitudes. This relationship is supported by both observation and physical theory. Below the surface, a different mode of circulation dominates. Known as thermohaline or overturning circulation, it is driven by differences in water density resulting from variations in temperature and salinity. Cold, salty water is denser than warm or fresh water and tends to sink. Where surface waters become sufficiently dense, they descend into the deep ocean, setting large volumes of water in motion. This process has been directly observed in specific regions, including parts of the North Atlantic and around Antarctica. Once formed, deep waters spread slowly through the global ocean, following pathways constrained by seafloor topography and density structure. The existence of these pathways is a confirmed observation, mapped using chemical tracers and autonomous floats. The full circuit of deep water through the ocean takes centuries to millennia, a timescale inferred from radiocarbon measurements and other tracers. This slow circulation underpins the ocean's ability to store heat and carbon over long periods. The overturning circulation is often described as a conveyor, but this is a simplification. In reality, it consists of multiple interconnected pathways, with water masses forming, transforming, and mixing along the way. This complexity is supported by observational data and numerical models. While the general structure of overturning circulation is well established, its detailed behavior and variability remain active areas of research. Freshwater plays a critical role in this system. The addition of fresh water from precipitation, rivers, or melting ice reduces seawater density, inhibiting sinking. Observations show that regions of deep water formation are sensitive to changes in freshwater input. This sensitivity is well supported by theory and modeling, but the threshold at which circulation might undergo abrupt change is not precisely known. This remains an open scientific question. One of the most discussed components of overturning circulation is the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, often abbreviated in scientific literature. Its existence is a confirmed observation, supported by direct measurements and indirect indicators. It transports warm surface waters northward and returns cold deep waters southward. This circulation influences climate patterns across the Atlantic region and beyond. Measurements over recent decades suggest variability in the strength of this circulation. Interpreting these measurements is challenging due to the short length of instrumental records relative to natural variability. While some studies suggest a long-term weakening trend, others emphasize the dominance of decadal fluctuations. The existence of variability is confirmed. The presence of a sustained long-term decline remains an open question. The Southern Ocean plays a central role in global circulation. Strong winds encircle Antarctica, driving upwelling of deep waters that have been isolated from the surface for centuries. This upwelling has been directly observed through chemical tracers and float data. It allows deep waters to exchange heat and gases with the atmosphere, closing the loop of the global circulation system. This exchange has important implications for climate. Deep waters brought to the surface in the Southern Ocean can release stored carbon dioxide, while newly formed waters can absorb heat and carbon before sinking again. The balance of these processes is an area of active research. Observations confirm that the Southern Ocean is a major site of both heat and carbon uptake, but the future evolution of these fluxes remains uncertain. Ocean circulation also influences the distribution of nutrients. Nutrient-rich deep waters brought to the surface fuel biological productivity, while surface waters stripped of nutrients sink and are carried elsewhere. This coupling between circulation and biology is a confirmed feature of the ocean system. It explains why certain regions support high productivity despite limited nutrient inputs from land. On shorter timescales, circulation patterns can shift in response to changes in wind and buoyancy forcing. These shifts are observed in phenomena such as the seasonal migration of currents and interannual climate variability. The physical mechanisms behind these changes are well understood, but their interactions with longer-term circulation remain complex. The ocean circulation is not uniform across depth. Layers of water can move in opposite directions, separated by density gradients. This vertical shear has been measured directly and plays a role in mixing and energy dissipation. Mixing, though subtle, is essential for maintaining the circulation by allowing dense waters to rise and light waters to sink elsewhere. the sources and rates of mixing are active research topics with contributions from tides, winds, and interactions with topography. Over geological timescales, changes in ocean circulation have been linked to major climate transitions. Evidence from sediment cores and isotope records suggests that reorganizations of circulation accompanied shifts between glacial and interglacial periods. These associations are well supported, though determining causality remains challenging due to the intertwined nature of climate processes. Despite decades of study, ocean circulation remains incompletely observed. Large areas of the deep ocean lack continuous measurements, and many processes occur at scales difficult to capture. This incomplete coverage means that circulation changes may be underway before they are fully detected. The recognition of this limitation is itself a confirmed aspect of modern oceanography. The slow, persistent movement of ocean water connects distant regions and distant times. Heat absorbed in one era can influence climate in another, carried silently through the depths. This long memory distinguishes the ocean from the atmosphere and makes its circulation a central component of Earth's climate system. Understanding this movement is essential not only for interpreting past change, but for anticipating the future of the planet's interconnected systems. The ocean is often described as blue, but this description conceals a complex optical system shaped by physics, chemistry, and biology. The color of the ocean is not merely a reflection of the sky. It is a measurable property that encodes information about what is happening within the water itself. One of the lesser-known facts about the ocean is that its color changes in systematic ways that reveal shifts in biological activity, particle composition, and even large-scale climate processes. Pure water absorbs light selectively. Red wavelengths are absorbed rapidly, while blue wavelengths penetrate more deeply and are scattered back to the observer. This physical property explains why clear, low-productivity regions of the open ocean appear deep blue. This explanation is grounded in laboratory measurements of light absorption and scattering by water molecules and is confirmed by observations in oligotrophic ocean regions. However, most seawater is not optically pure. It contains phytoplankton, dissolved organic matter, and suspended particles, each of which alters how light is absorbed and scattered. Phytoplankton contain chlorophyll and accessory pigments that absorb blue and red light and reflect green wavelengths. As a result, waters rich in phytoplankton appear greener. This relationship between ocean color and biological abundance is a confirmed observation, validated through decades of ship-based sampling and satellite measurements. Since the late 20th century, satellites have continuously monitored ocean color at global scales. These instruments do not simply produce images, they quantify the spectral properties of reflected light, allowing scientists to estimate surface chlorophyll concentrations. The accuracy of these estimates has been extensively tested against in situ measurements. While uncertainties remain, particularly in coastal waters, the broad patterns and trends derived from satellite ocean color data are well supported. These observations reveal that biological productivity is unevenly distributed across the ocean. Vast regions of the subtropical gyres are persistently low in chlorophyll, while high latitude and upwelling regions exhibit strong seasonal blooms. This distribution is a confirmed feature of the ocean system, shaped by nutrient availability, light, and circulation. Changes in these patterns can indicate shifts in the underlying physical and chemical environment. Ocean color has also become a tool for detecting long-term change. Analyses of multi-decade satellite records suggest subtle trends in surface chlorophyll in some regions. Interpreting these trends is challenging due to natural variability and instrumental differences, but some patterns are consistent with changes in stratification and nutrient supply. These interpretations are supported by theory, though the attribution of specific trends remains an open scientific question. Beyond chlorophyll, the ocean contains large quantities of dissolved organic matter that absorb light, particularly in the blue and ultraviolet range. This material, often referred to as colored dissolved organic matter, or CDOM, originates from biological production and terrestrial inputs. Its presence alters ocean color independently of phytoplankton abundance. The distribution and behavior of CDOM are confirmed through optical measurements, but its role in regulating light penetration and biological processes is still being actively studied. Light penetration itself is a critical factor shaping marine ecosystems. The depth to which sufficient light penetrates determines the thickness of the euphotic zone, where photosynthesis can occur. This depth varies widely from tens of meters in turbid coastal waters to over 100 meters in clear, open ocean regions. These depths are directly measured using optical instruments and influence the vertical structure of marine food webs. The attenuation of light with depth also affects heat distribution. Sunlight absorbed near the surface warms the upper ocean, while deeper penetration distributes heat more evenly. Changes in water clarity can therefore influence surface heating and stratification. This coupling between optics and physics is well established in theory and supported by observational studies, though its quantitative impact on climate remains an area of ongoing research. The ocean's optical properties also influence its interaction with the atmosphere. By reflecting some fraction of incoming sunlight back to space, the ocean contributes to Earth's albedo. Darker, phytoplankton-poor waters absorb more solar energy than lighter, particle-rich waters. This effect has been measured and incorporated into climate models, but its global significance relative to other climate feedbacks is still under investigation. At regional scales, biological activity can alter optical properties rapidly. Phytoplankton blooms can develop and dissipate over weeks, changing water color and light penetration. These events are directly observed by satellites and ships and are often linked to physical processes such as mixing, upwelling, or eddy formation. The connection between physical forcing and optical response is well documented, making ocean color a valuable integrator of multiple processes. The optical environment also shapes the behavior and evolution of marine organisms. Many species rely on vision for feeding, predator avoidance, and communication. The spectral quality and intensity of light influence eye structure, pigmentation, and behavior. These adaptations are confirmed through comparative studies across depth gradients. How changes in ocean color and clarity may affect these interactions is an emerging area of research. Human activity has altered ocean optical properties in some regions. Coastal runoff introduces sediments and dissolved substances that increase turbidity and alter light absorption. These changes are directly measured and have well-documented ecological consequences, including reduced light availability for seagrasses and corals. While these impacts are localized, they illustrate how sensitive the ocean's optical system is to changes in particle and chemical inputs. On longer timescales, geological records indicate that ocean clarity has varied with climate and biological evolution. Proxy indicators preserved in sediments suggest periods of higher or lower productivity and changes in particle composition. These reconstructions are supported by multiple lines of evidence, though uncertainties increase with age. They provide context for modern observations, highlighting that the ocean's optical character is dynamic rather than fixed. Despite extensive monitoring, interpreting changes in ocean color remains complex. Multiple substances influence light in overlapping ways, and separating their contributions requires careful analysis. Advances in satellite technology and in situ sensors continue to improve this capability, but limitations remain. Recognizing these limitations is an essential part of responsible interpretation. The fact that the ocean's color carries information about life, chemistry, and physics is a confirmed and powerful insight. It transforms the surface of the sea into a readable signal, one that can be tracked continuously across the planet. At the same time, it reminds us that seemingly simple properties often arise from intricate interactions. The blue and green hues visible from space are not static features, but dynamic expressions of a living, changing ocean. The ocean exerts a controlling influence on Earth's climate, not only through heat storage and circulation, but through its direct regulation of gases exchanged with the atmosphere. Among these, oxygen occupies a central but often overlooked role. Although oxygen is abundant in the air, its distribution within the ocean is uneven and tightly regulated by physical transport, biological activity, and chemical constraints. One of the more subtle facts about the ocean is that large regions contain very little oxygen, and that these low oxygen zones are expanding in measurable ways. Oxygen enters the ocean primarily at the surface. It dissolves from the atmosphere and is produced by photosynthetic organisms in sunlit waters. From there, it is transported downward and laterally by circulation and mixing. These processes are directly observed through measurements of dissolved oxygen taken from ships, floats, and moored instruments. The resulting global oxygen distribution is one of the most thoroughly mapped chemical properties of the ocean. Despite this connectivity, oxygen is not evenly mixed. In many regions, oxygen concentrations decline sharply with depth, reaching minima hundreds of meters below the surface. These layers, known as oxygen minimum zones, are a confirmed feature of the modern ocean. They occur most prominently in the eastern tropical Pacific, the northern Indian Ocean, and parts of the Atlantic. Their locations and intensities have been documented consistently for decades. The formation of oxygen minimum zones is governed by a balance between supply and demand. Oxygen is supplied by circulation and mixing from the surface. It is consumed by respiration as microorganisms decompose sinking organic matter. Where supply is weak and demand is high, oxygen levels fall. This framework is well supported by both observation and theory. The precise depth and thickness of oxygen minimum zones vary regionally, reflecting differences in circulation, productivity, and stratification. In extreme cases, oxygen concentrations approach zero. Such conditions are referred to as anoxic or suboxic, depending on the threshold used. These environments are not theoretical. They are directly measured and have distinct chemical signatures, including the accumulation of reduced nitrogen compounds. The presence of these chemical markers confirms the near absence of oxygen and provides insight into the underlying processes. Low oxygen conditions strongly influence marine life. Many organisms require oxygen concentrations above specific thresholds to survive. As oxygen declines, species composition shifts, favoring organisms adapted to low oxygen environments. These shifts are observed in plankton communities, benthic organisms, and fish distributions. The physiological basis for oxygen tolerance is well understood, but the ecosystem-level consequences of expanding low oxygen zones remain an area of active research. Over the past half-century, observations indicate a decline in the total amount of oxygen dissolved in the global ocean. This trend is a confirmed observation derived from repeated measurements across multiple basins. The magnitude of the decline is small in percentage terms but significant in absolute volume. Several mechanisms contribute, including reduced solubility in warmer water and changes in circulation and stratification that limit oxygen supply to depth. As the ocean warms, its capacity to hold dissolved oxygen decreases. This is a basic physical property of gases in liquids and is confirmed through laboratory measurements. At the same time, warming strengthens stratification, inhibiting the downward transport of oxygen-rich surface waters. These processes are well supported by theory and observation. Their combined effect is a tendency toward dioxygenation in many regions. Changes in biological activity also play a role. Increased surface productivity can enhance the export of organic matter to depth, increasing oxygen consumption during decomposition. In some regions, this mechanism contributes to the intensification of oxygen minimum zones. The relative importance of physical versus biological drivers varies by location and is an active topic of scientific investigation. Oxygen availability also influences ocean chemistry in fundamental ways. When oxygen is scarce, alternative chemical pathways dominate. Microorganisms may use nitrate or sulfate instead of oxygen for respiration, producing compounds such as nitrous oxide and hydrogen sulfide. The occurrence of these pathways is confirmed through chemical measurements and isotopic analyses. Their expansion has implications not only for marine ecosystems but also for atmospheric chemistry, as some of these gases are potent greenhouse agents. On geological timescales, the ocean has experienced periods of widespread low oxygen. Evidence from sedimentary rocks indicates episodes in Earth's history when large portions of the ocean were anoxic. These events are associated with major disruptions to marine life and shifts in climate. The existence of past anoxic events is well established through multiple proxy records. What remains uncertain is how closely modern trends resemble these ancient episodes, given differences in timescale and boundary conditions. The modern expansion of low oxygen zones is not uniform. Some regions show pronounced changes, while others remain relatively stable. This heterogeneity reflects the complexity of ocean circulation and regional forcing. Understanding these patterns requires sustained observation, yet long-term oxygen records are still sparse compared to temperature measurements. This limitation introduces uncertainty into projections of future change. Oxygen also interacts with the ocean's physical structure. In some regions, low oxygen layers act as barriers to vertical migration, altering the behavior of organisms that move between surface and depth. These behavioral changes are directly observed using acoustic and tagging techniques. They can influence predator-prey interactions and the vertical transport of carbon, linking oxygen dynamics to broader ecosystem processes. Human activities have influenced oxygen levels in coastal oceans through nutrient enrichment. Excess nutrients stimulate high productivity, leading to increased oxygen consumption at depth and the formation of hypoxic zones. These zones, often referred to as dead zones, are confirmed observations documented in many coastal regions. While their causes and impacts are well understood locally, their interactions with open ocean deoxygenation remain an open question. The study of ocean oxygen illustrates how tightly coupled physical, chemical, and biological processes are. Small changes in temperature or circulation can cascade into significant ecological effects. The decline in ocean oxygen is not as visible as warming or sea level rise, but it is no less real. Its measurement rests on decades of careful observation, and its mechanisms are grounded in established science. What remains uncertain is how far these trends will extend and how marine systems will adapt. Oxygen thresholds for many species are known, but ecosystem responses are non-linear and context-dependent. Continued monitoring and integration of observations with models are essential for resolving these questions. The ocean's role as a regulator of atmospheric gases extends beyond carbon and heat. Through its control of oxygen, it shapes the habitability of its own interior and influences chemical cycles that reach into the atmosphere. This quiet regulation operates continuously, largely unnoticed, yet it is fundamental to the functioning of the Earth system as a whole. The ocean does not simply respond to climate, it actively creates it. One of the most understated facts about the ocean is that it governs the distribution of fresh water on Earth, shaping patterns of rainfall, drought, and atmospheric circulation. Through evaporation, condensation, and transport, the ocean supplies nearly all precipitation that falls on land. This role is not inferred indirectly, it is confirmed through direct measurements of evaporation rates, atmospheric moisture transport, and isotopic tracing of water vapor. More than 85% of global evaporation occurs over the ocean. Solar energy heats the sea surface, causing water molecules to escape into the atmosphere as vapor. This process is well understood physically and is measured using a combination of satellite observations, surface flux measurements, and meteorological data. The resulting water vapor is the most abundant greenhouse gas in the atmosphere and a central driver of weather systems. Once in the atmosphere, water vapor is transported by winds, often traveling thousands of kilometers before condensing and falling as precipitation. Isotopic signatures in rainwater confirm that much of the fresh water delivered to continents originated from the ocean. This connection is particularly evident in regions far from large lakes or inland seas, where ocean-derived moisture dominates precipitation. The ocean is therefore not merely adjacent to land-based climates, it is their primary source of fresh water. Sea surface temperature plays a critical role in regulating evaporation. Warmer waters increase evaporation rates, adding more moisture to the atmosphere. This relationship is a confirmed observation and a fundamental principle of atmospheric physics. As a result, variations in ocean temperature can alter atmospheric humidity and influence storm development and intensity. Large-scale patterns of sea surface temperature organize atmospheric circulation. In the tropics, warm waters drive deep convection, lifting moist air high into the atmosphere and releasing latent heat as clouds and rain form. This release of heat fuels major circulation cells that transport energy toward higher latitudes. These processes are directly observed and reproduced in climate models. They form the backbone of Earth's general circulation. The contrast between warm and cool ocean regions also anchors persistent climate features. Subtropical deserts, for example, are linked to descending dry air associated with large-scale circulation cells that originate over warm tropical oceans. This connection is well established in atmospheric science and illustrates how ocean conditions influence climates far inland. On interannual timescales, shifts in ocean temperature can reorganize rainfall patterns across much of the globe. These reorganizations are not speculative, they are documented through instrumental records spanning more than a century. Changes in tropical Pacific temperatures, for example, are associated with predictable changes in precipitation across the Americas, Africa, and Asia. While the underlying mechanisms are well understood, the precise timing and regional impacts of these shifts remain areas of active research. The ocean also influences climate through its control of clouds. Marine clouds form in response to moisture supply, atmospheric stability, and the presence of aerosols, many of which originate from the ocean itself. Sea spray injects salt particles into the atmosphere, where they act as cloud condensation nuclei. This process is confirmed through laboratory experiments and field observations. Clouds, in turn, regulate how much sunlight reaches the ocean surface, creating feedbacks between ocean and atmosphere. The magnitude and sign of these cloud-related feedbacks remain among the largest uncertainties in climate science. While the basic processes are well established, small changes in cloud properties can have outsized effects on radiation balance. Determining how marine cloud systems will respond to ongoing ocean warming is an open scientific question, actively investigated through observations and modeling. At higher latitudes, the ocean influences climate through its interaction with ice. Sea ice forms from ocean water and floats at the surface, insulating the ocean from the atmosphere. Its extent and thickness are directly observed through satellites and in situ measurements. When sea ice retreats, darker ocean surfaces absorb more solar energy, reinforcing warming. This ice albedo feedback is a confirmed physical mechanism with clear observational support. The formation and melting of sea ice also affect ocean salinity. When ice forms, salt is rejected into the surrounding water, increasing its density and promoting sinking. This process contributes to deep water formation in polar regions, linking freshwater processes to global circulation. The mechanism is well understood and directly observed, though its sensitivity to changing ice conditions remains under study. Freshwater input from rivers and melting ice further modifies ocean density and circulation. Large river plumes can influence regional climate by altering sea surface temperature and stratification. These effects are documented in satellite observations and field studies. On larger scales, increased freshwater input at high latitudes has the potential to alter overturning circulation, a possibility supported by theory but still uncertain in magnitude. Over longer timescales, the ocean's regulation of freshwater has shaped Earth's climate history. Geological evidence indicates that changes in ocean gateways and circulation altered moisture transport and precipitation patterns during past climate transitions. These links are supported by proxy records, though disentangling cause and effect remains challenging. Despite its central role, the ocean's influence on the freshwater cycle is often underappreciated because it operates invisibly. Evaporation leaves no trace at the surface, and atmospheric transport obscures origins. Yet every rainfall event, every river flow, and every glacier ultimately traces back to oceanic evaporation. This is not a metaphorical statement, but a physical accounting confirmed by observation. As the climate warms, the ocean's role in the freshwater cycle is intensifying. A warmer atmosphere can hold more moisture, increasing the potential for heavier rainfall and longer dry periods. This amplification is supported by physical theory and emerging observational evidence. How this intensified cycle will manifest regionally remains an open question, dependent on circulation patterns and ocean-atmosphere interactions. The ocean's control over freshwater connects heat, circulation, and life on land. It links distant regions through invisible pathways of vapor and wind. Recognizing this role reframes the ocean not as a boundary between continents, but as the engine that drives the planet's hydrological system. Through evaporation and heat exchange, the ocean continuously shapes the conditions under which terrestrial climates and ecosystems exist. Sound travels through the ocean in ways that differ fundamentally from its behavior in air. This difference is not a minor technical detail. It shapes how organisms communicate, how scientists observe the ocean, and how human activity influences marine environments. one of the more unexpected facts about the ocean is that sound, not light, is the dominant carrier of information across vast distances underwater. This dominance arises from well-established physical properties of seawater and has been confirmed through more than a century of acoustic measurement. Water is denser and less compressible than air, allowing sound waves to travel faster and farther. In seawater, sound typically moves at speeds around 1500 meters per second, more than 4 times faster than in air. This value is not constant. It varies with temperature, salinity, and pressure. These dependencies are precisely quantified through laboratory experiments and in situ measurements and form the basis of underwater acoustics. As sound travels through the ocean, it is refracted by changes in sound speed with depth. Temperature generally decreases with depth in the upper ocean, while pressure increases steadily. The combined effect creates a minimum in sound speed at intermediate depths, forming a natural waveguide known as the deep sound channel. This feature was discovered through direct acoustic experiments and is now a confirmed and well-characterized property of the ocean. Within this channel, sound can propagate over thousands of kilometers with relatively little loss. This phenomenon has been demonstrated repeatedly through controlled experiments and accidental detections, such as distant ship noise and seismic signals. It explains how low-frequency sounds can be recorded far from their source and why the ocean can function as a global acoustic medium. Marine organisms have evolved in this acoustic environment. Many species rely on sound for communication, navigation, and sensing their surroundings. Whales, for example, produce low-frequency calls that can travel across ocean basins. This capacity is not speculative. It is supported by recordings made simultaneously at widely separated locations. The structure of these calls and their propagation properties align closely with known acoustic physics. Sound is also used by fish and invertebrates, though often at higher frequencies and shorter ranges. The diversity of sound-producing and sound-sensing adaptations in marine life is documented through anatomical studies and behavioral experiments. What remains less understood is how these communication systems function in the full complexity of the natural ocean, where multiple sound sources overlap. For scientists, sound is an indispensable observational tool. Acoustic methods are used to map the seafloor, measure currents, estimate biological abundance, and even monitor temperature changes over large scales. Acoustic thermometry, for example, exploits the temperature dependence of sound speed to infer average ocean temperatures over long distances. This technique has been tested and validated, though its use has raised environmental concerns that have limited large-scale deployment. The ocean's acoustic environment is not static. Natural sources of sound include waves, rain, ice cracking, earthquakes, and biological activity. These sources have been catalogued through extensive monitoring. Their contributions vary with location, season, and weather. This natural soundscape provides context for understanding how additional sounds introduced by human activity alter the acoustic balance. Human-generated sound in the ocean has increased markedly over the past century. Shipping, industrial activity, and exploration all contribute to background noise levels. This increase is documented through long-term acoustic records. The spatial extent and intensity of anthropogenic noise vary regionally, reflecting patterns of maritime activity. The effects of this noise on marine organisms are an area of active research. Observations show that some species alter their behavior in noisy environments, changing vocalization patterns or movement. These responses are confirmed in specific cases, but their long-term population-level consequences are less certain. Determining these effects is challenging due to the difficulty of isolating sound from other environmental stressors. Sound also interacts with the ocean's physical structure. Variations in temperature and salinity create acoustic fronts and shadows, influencing where sound travels and where it does not. These interactions are well described by theory and confirmed through field experiments. They add complexity to both natural communication and human use of sound. At larger scales, the ocean's acoustic properties provide insight into its changing state. Long-term changes in temperature and stratification alter sound speed profiles, subtly modifying how sound propagates. These changes are detectable in acoustic records and offer a complementary perspective on ocean warming. While this application is still developing, it illustrates how acoustics can serve as an integrative measure of ocean conditions. Geologically, sound waves generated by earthquakes travel efficiently through the ocean, coupling water and solid earth. These signals are routinely recorded by hydrophones and provide information about seismic events and seafloor structure. The existence of this coupling is a confirmed observation and underscores the ocean's role as a medium connecting different Earth systems. Despite its importance, the ocean's acoustic dimension remains largely unfamiliar outside scientific and maritime communities. This unfamiliarity stems partly from the invisibility of sound and partly from the dominance of visual metaphors in describing the ocean. Yet for much of marine life, sound is the primary means of perceiving the environment. Understanding the ocean as an acoustic system reframes many questions about marine ecology, observation, and human impact. The physics governing sound propagation are well established, and the presence of long-range acoustic pathways is a confirmed fact. What remains uncertain is how rapidly increasing noise levels will interact with biological systems adapted to a very different acoustic past. The ocean carries information not only through currents and chemistry, but through vibrations that move silently across its depths. These vibrations link distant regions, reveal hidden structures, and mediate interactions among organisms. Recognizing sound as a fundamental oceanic property adds another dimension to understanding a system that is far richer and more interconnected than its surface appearance suggests. The ocean appears continuous and uniform from the surface, but in reality it is divided into distinct regions that function almost as separate worlds. These regions are not defined by political boundaries or visible markers, but by depth, pressure, light, and circulation. One of the least intuitive facts about the ocean is that crossing a few hundred meters vertically can be more environmentally drastic than traveling thousands of kilometers horizontally. This vertical partitioning shapes evolution, limits interaction, and creates some of the sharpest ecological boundaries on the planet. The most fundamental division is between the sunlit surface and the dark interior. Sunlight penetrates only the upper layer of the ocean, typically no deeper than 100 to 200 meters, depending on water clarity. This zone, known as the euphotic zone, is where photosynthesis occurs. Its depth has been directly measured using optical instruments across all ocean basins. Below it lies a realm where sunlight is insufficient to support photosynthesis and energy must arrive from elsewhere. The transition between light and darkness is abrupt in biological terms. Photosynthetic organisms decline rapidly with depth, and food webs reorganize around detrital and chemical energy sources. This shift is a confirmed observation supported by decades of biological sampling. The result is that most of the ocean's primary production is concentrated in a thin surface layer, while most of its volume lies below, dependent on energy exported from above. Below the euphotic zone lies the mesopelagic, often referred to as the twilight zone. Light here is dim but not entirely absent. Objects appear as silhouettes, and vision remains possible for organisms with sensitive eyes. This zone extends roughly from 200 to 1,000 meters in depth, though boundaries vary regionally. Its existence and extent are confirmed through light measurements and biological observations. The mesopelagic zone hosts one of the largest migrations on Earth. Every day, vast numbers of organisms move upward at night to feed near the surface and descend again during daylight hours. This diel vertical migration has been documented through acoustic measurements and net sampling across all major oceans. The total biomass involved is enormous, though estimates vary due to sampling challenges. What is not in doubt is that this migration plays a major role in transporting carbon from the surface to depth. Below the mesopelagic lies the bathypelagic zone, where darkness is complete and pressure is extreme. Here, life is sparse but persistent. Organisms are adapted to constant conditions with little seasonal or daily variation. This stability has been confirmed through long-term observations showing minimal temperature and light fluctuations. As a result, many species exhibit slow growth and long lifespans. Deeper still are the abyssal and hadal zones, extending across the seafloor and into trenches. These environments experience the highest pressures on Earth. The existence of life at these depths is a confirmed observation, supported by direct sampling and imaging. However, biological diversity generally decreases with depth, reflecting increasing energetic constraints. What makes these vertical zones remarkable is how isolated they are from one another. Density stratification limits vertical mixing, and many organisms are physiologically restricted to narrow depth ranges. As a result, species living a few hundred meters apart may never interact despite sharing the same geographic location. This vertical isolation is a confirmed feature of ocean structure and has profound evolutionary consequences. Genetic studies reveal that populations separated by depth can diverge even when they overlap horizontally. This pattern has been observed in multiple taxa and is supported by molecular evidence. Depth, rather than distance, becomes the primary barrier to gene flow. This finding challenges intuitions shaped by terrestrial environments where horizontal distance often dominates. Physical barriers also exist. Sharp gradients in temperature, oxygen, and pressure form boundaries that many organisms cannot cross. Oxygen minimum zones, for example, can act as vertical barriers, restricting movement and compressing habitable space. The role of these zones as ecological boundaries is supported by observational studies of species distributions and movement patterns. The ocean's layered structure also influences chemical exchange. Nutrients regenerated at depth may take decades or centuries to return to the surface, depending on circulation pathways. This delay is a confirmed observation based on tracer studies. It means that surface ecosystems are often disconnected from the deeper processes that ultimately sustain them, at least on human timescales. From a geological perspective, vertical separation affects how materials are stored and recycled. Organic carbon sinking from the surface may be buried in sediments or decomposed at depth, isolated from the atmosphere for long periods. This sequestration is a confirmed process central to the global carbon cycle. Its efficiency depends on how quickly material passes through different depth zones and how much is consumed along the way. The vertical structure of the ocean also complicates observation. Satellites can monitor only the surface layer, leaving most of the ocean's volume hidden from direct view. In situ measurements provide depth information but are sparse relative to the ocean's scale. This observational limitation is a recognized constraint in oceanography and contributes to uncertainty in assessing change at depth. Human activity has begun to intersect with these vertical divisions. Fishing has expanded into deeper waters, targeting species once beyond reach. These activities cross ecological boundaries that evolved over millions of years. Observations show that deep living species often respond poorly to exploitation, reflecting their slow life histories. Recovery, where it occurs, can take decades or longer. Climate-driven changes are also altering vertical boundaries. Warming, deoxygenation, and changes in stratification can shift the depth ranges of habitable zones. These shifts are observed in some regions, with species moving upward or downward in response to changing conditions. While the direction of change is often clear, the long-term consequences for deep and surface ecosystems remain uncertain. The ocean's vertical complexity means that it cannot be understood as a single, uniform habitat. It is a stack of environments, each governed by different physical and biological rules. Interactions between these layers occur, but they are constrained and often slow. This structure explains why changes at the surface may take years to influence the deep ocean, and why deep changes can remain hidden for long periods. Recognizing the ocean as vertically partitioned reframes how its scale is understood. Most of its life, most of its chemistry, and most of its physical processes occur out of sight, separated by invisible boundaries. These boundaries are not arbitrary. They arise from fundamental physical principles and are confirmed through extensive observation. The fact that the ocean is divided more by depth than by distance is a quiet but transformative insight. It reveals why the deep sea remained unknown for so long, why its ecosystems are so distinct, and why changes unfolding at depth are among the hardest to detect. Understanding these vertical worlds is essential for grasping the true structure of the ocean and the limits within which its systems operate. The ocean is often portrayed as a passive backdrop to planetary change, yet one of the most consequential facts about it is that it operates as a regulator of time within the Earth system. Its processes unfold across scales that range from seconds to millions of years, linking the immediate present to deep geological history. This temporal reach is not abstract. It is encoded in the movement of water masses, the accumulation of sediments, and the slow exchange of heat and chemicals between the ocean, the atmosphere, and the solid Earth. One of the clearest expressions of this temporal role is the ocean's capacity to store and delay change. Heat, carbon, and other substances absorbed at the surface are not rapidly returned to the atmosphere. Instead, they are distributed into the ocean's interior, where circulation pathways can isolate them for centuries or longer. This behavior is a confirmed observation supported by tracer studies and direct measurements of water mass ages. It means that the ocean integrates past conditions and releases their influence gradually over times. This long memory has profound implications for climate. The climate experienced today is shaped not only by current atmospheric composition, but by oceanic conditions set decades or centuries ago. Similarly, actions taken in the present will influence the ocean far into the future. This lagged response is a direct consequence of slow circulation and stratification, both of which are firmly established features of the ocean system. Sediments on the seafloor provide another record of time. Layer by layer, particles settle from the water column, preserving information about surface conditions, biological activity, and chemical composition. These sediments are directly sampled through coring, and their sequences can be dated using radiometric methods. The resulting records extend back millions of years, offering a continuous archive of Earth's environmental history. From these archives, scientists reconstruct past ocean temperatures, circulation patterns, and chemical states. These reconstructions are supported by multiple independent proxies, including microfossil assemblages and isotopic ratios. While each proxy carries uncertainties, their convergence provides robust insights into how the ocean and climate have co-evolved. They reveal that the ocean has undergone major reorganizations, sometimes rapidly, sometimes gradually, often in concert with changes on land and in the atmosphere. The ocean also mediates biological time. Evolutionary processes in the sea are shaped by the stability or variability of physical conditions. In the deep ocean, where temperature and light remain constant over long periods, evolutionary change can be slow, favoring long-lived and specialized forms. In contrast, surface environments subject to seasonal and climatic variability promote faster turnover and diversification. These patterns are supported by comparative studies of fossil records and modern genetic data. Extinction and recovery in the ocean likewise unfold over extended timescales. Past mass extinction events documented in marine sediments show that recovery of ocean ecosystems can take millions of years. These findings are confirmed by paleontological records across multiple basins. They underscore the resilience of marine life over geological time, but also the long duration required for full recovery after major disruption. The ocean's interaction with the solid Earth further extends its temporal influence. Weathering of continental rocks delivers ions to the ocean, while burial of sediments removes them. Over millions of years, this balance regulates atmospheric carbon dioxide and, by extension, climate. This feedback is a cornerstone of Earth system theory and is supported by geological and geochemical evidence. While the basic mechanism is well established, its sensitivity and rate under different conditions remain active areas of research. Volcanic activity beneath the ocean adds another temporal layer. Submarine eruptions and hydrothermal systems release heat and chemicals continuously, though often imperceptibly. Over long time scales, these inputs influence ocean chemistry and thermal structure. The existence of these processes is a confirmed observation, though their cumulative impact relative to other drivers is still being quantified. The ocean's capacity to smooth variability does not mean it prevents change. Instead, it redistributes change over time. Rapid atmospheric shifts are dampened by ocean heat uptake, while long-term trends are sustained by slow release. This dual role explains why climate change can appear gradual yet persistent. It also explains why stabilization of atmospheric conditions does not immediately translate into stabilization of ocean conditions. Human observation of the ocean occupies only a brief moment within this vast temporal framework. Instrumental records span at most a few centuries, and comprehensive global measurements only a few decades. This limitation is well recognized within ocean science. It means that many observed trends must be interpreted cautiously in the context of both natural variability and incomplete sampling. At the same time, the convergence of physical principles, direct observations, and historical records provides confidence in key conclusions. The ocean absorbs heat and carbon. It circulates them slowly. It archives change in sediments and water masses. These are confirmed facts. What remains uncertain is how these processes will interact under unprecedented rates of forcing, and how close the system may be to thresholds not yet fully characterized. The future ocean will not simply mirror the past. While geological records provide context, they also show that outcomes depend on boundary conditions and rates of change. The current pace of alteration is rapid by geological standards, even if it appears slow on human timescales. How the ocean will respond over the coming centuries is an open scientific question, constrained by known physics and chemistry, but influenced by complex feedbacks. What is certain is that the ocean will continue to act as Earth's temporal mediator. It will carry the imprint of present conditions forward, just as it carries the imprint of past climates into the present. This continuity links generations and epochs, embedding human history within a much longer planetary narrative. The ocean's depth, motion, chemistry, and life are often described in spatial terms, but their significance is equally temporal. The ocean connects moments as much as it connects places. It holds memory, delays consequence, and reveals change only gradually. Recognizing this role shifts understanding of the ocean from a backdrop to an active participant in Earth's long story. That story is written not in sudden events alone, but in slow accumulations and persistent flows. The ocean is the medium through which these processes unfold, shaping the planet across timescales far beyond immediate perception. To understand the ocean is therefore to understand time itself as it operates within the Earth system, measured not only in years, but in layers of water, sediment, and change that continue to move, settle, and transform beneath the surface.